Rob, nice
what do
to
you
meet
like? What's your favorite color?
What's my favorite color?
No.
I like the neutrals.
The neutral colors.
The neutral colors.
Hit Mr. Bland here, Mr. Cellophane, right here.
Oh no, that's true. I am all right. You're so much more colorful than I.
I know. Well, I do this on purpose. This isn't colorful. I didn't wear my Hawaiian shirt today.
No.
Because it's short sleeve and it was freezing when I went out this morning.
Yeah.
So I thought,
Do you wish now, maybe?
Yeah, now it's starting to seem like it would have been a better idea.
Yeah.
All right.
All right, I am here with Terry Brooks, author and executive producer of the Shannara Chronicles. Hearing about your stories and your characters, you have some very strong female roles in the lead positions, and this is at a time before that was really a staple of fantasy and sci-fi television.
Right.
Were there strong female influences in your life that encouraged you to do that in your stories?
Oh boy.
Yeah.
I grew up in a matriarchy. I have practically all women in my family. There's one or two poor males that are on the periphery of things. There's my son and my grandson, and then after that it gets very thin out there in the field. But you know, and I also have a lot of female fans. And over the years, when I started out with Sword, and there were no female characters in there to speak of except for one. I heard from a lot of them saying, "How come you're not writing any strong female characters?" And all the women in the family said, "How come?" So I thought, all right, fine. So I wrote Elfstones. And, of course, that had two very strong female characters. And I found that my connection with women within the family actually taught me quite a bit about women that was very useful in writing characters. So I think I was able to find a way to those characters to make them real enough that the stories that followed that had those kinds of characters as well seemed to resonate with the audience.
As Shannara was a precursor to a lot of the fantasy things we've seen now, is there a fear for people seeing it on TV for the first time that they'll think it's now taking from something that maybe borrowed from Shannara originally, but we're thinking it's the other way around now?
I don't know. I hear that all the time, and of course I got hung from the yardarm, when Sword came out, and everybody said, "Oh, it's just Lord of the Rings. Who cares?" And you have to take that kind of criticism. I was a young writer. It was my first book. What do you want? Right. So I went on to write books that were not at all like Lord of the Rings, and I developed that world, which is, of course, this world in the future, and it has science fiction aspects and so forth. So eventually they got tired of doing that, and they went off on somebody else, whoever is out there that needs beating up on today.
Sure.
So, I think there's always the sense that somehow you relate everything to something else. You know how they pitch things in Hollywood where Blade Runner meets, Ted or something?
Can you do that next?
That'd be a neat trick, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
So I think people discuss things in terms that everybody relates to immediately. So I've been compared to Star Wars. George Lucas says, this book's a lot like Star Wars. Your Shannara books are. When I was doing Phantom Menace, I said, "It is?" And he says, "Oh yeah." He says, I write a lot like what you're writing too. And I thought, yeah, I guess that's true. We're doing adventure stories. Basically adventure stories with fantasy or science fiction trappings. There you go.
Yeah. When I'm thinking about the fantasy genre, MTV isn't the first network that comes to mind. So what was it about MTV that made it the right fit for Shannara Chronicles?
Well, I think obviously I didn't feel strongly about going with HBO because Game of Thrones is such a strong presence there.
Sure.
I didn't want to be crushed in the process. I wanted this to stand on its own 2 feet. And I liked the idea of going to some place nobody thought I would go to. And I liked the idea of going to an underdog, basically, that in this field who didn't have anything else really of this sort. I like those kinds of challenges. And at this stage of my life, challenges are a good thing to keep you going.
Agreed.
So I just felt like that was the way to go. And I think the fact that they were so aggressive about it, I mean, they didn't just come in there and say, we're going to do really well. They said, we're going to double what anybody else is going to do now. We're going to give you twice as much money, twice as much support, twice as much everything for the show to be filmed, actors to be paid, everything else. And I said, okay, that's it. If I get that kind of a commitment and a promise that this was going to be their lead show, that's hard not to go with that.
Right. Well, obviously the effort looks like it paid off. I've only seen the trailer, but it looks fantastic, and I really look forward to the series.
Thank you. And I have to say, I tell this to everybody, the trailers are very good, but the best stuff is in the episodes that are yet to come. It really is.
Well, great pleasure meeting you.
All right. Nice
look
to meet you,
forward
too.
to it.